You can't get enough Thay lore, and neither can you, and you, and you. At least, none of you ever stop asking about Thay, so here I am with more lore. Yes, fans of the realms never tire of Thay, that sinister land of red wizards and slaves that once established trading outposts across the realms and then abandoned them. They asked me questions, many questions, so it's high time to share the lore I've responded with to tell you more about Thay. So, here we go. The populace. The presence of the Autharch makes Thay a magical land. No matter who dwells there and their magical training or lack of it, many folk born there will have the gift, and wild magic will lurk. However, the 7 million or so Thayans circa 1500 DR are a mix of merchants, crafters, shopkeepers, and soldiers from Mohorand, Unsther, and all over the realms if they're descended from former slaves. Most slaves and serving military have been replaced by undead who don't need to be fed and can't be worked to death. The few slaves who remain tend to be talented individuals kept as status symbols by Thayan nobles and wealthy wannabe nobles among the country's merchants. There are just under 4,000 red wizards, but that includes apprentices and novices not seen in public because the red wizards don't want anyone in Thay to ever meet weak red wizards and get ideas. Under them, Thay is a mix of mercantile might nobles who could have bankrolled armies back in the days of slave fodder troops led by veteran-trained military Thayans, and a handful of military commanders of real competence nobles. In origins, that is. 8 or 9 generations on, these origins tend to be forgotten. And on the next rung down are the minor merchants, then the crafters, and then the shopkeepers, with laborers below. Although Thay is a far more human-dominated land than many of the known realms of Faerun, life is easy enough for dwarves, halflings, gnomes, elves, and other non-humans in the poorer areas of most Thayan cities if they don't mind being working drudges. Otherwise, it's much easier, due to higher "oh, you're one of us" local acceptance, in rural areas, especially in the southwestern, eastern, and southeastern fringes of the realm. Arcane spellcasters in Thay. Thayan children will have to be well hidden indeed by parents able to often be on the move to avoid being tested to see if they have the gift. And if they do, they get scooped up for training to be red wizards or killed off deliberately in the training if they exhibit rebellious and deceitful tendencies. Thayan authorities want anyone with the gift to be a red wizard or dead and gone from Thay. There are unambitious, loyal, drudge red wizards who choose bad treatment to gain relative safety rather than trying to advance. A demi-human red wizard is rather like a woman in our modern real world trying to break the glass ceiling in the 1990s and 2000s. They'll be watched, gently harassed, and usually have to be really good at what they do to advance far. But they will be accepted as full red wizards and trusted a little more than other red wizards because superiors will think they can't go elsewhere. So they will be diligent and work hard and can be relied upon. Young red wizards are usually trained by older, often embittered and disabled, red wizards all over Thay. The Arcane College in El Tabar is where they go to be tested, and sometimes trained if the tests show their mastery is lacking. If the Probity Corps is suspicious of the loyalty of any red wizard being trained or specifics of their training, they may murmur into the ear of a senior red wizard to step in and send that trainee to the Arcane College. Yet some red wizards only see the Arcane College when they're being tested. Red wizards tend to look down on sorcerers as relying on the gift foremost and not strict red wizard teachings. Immigrant and visiting sorcerers will be constantly watched for any signs they're an agent of a foreign power or planning anything against Szass Tam and his rule. This scrutiny will be by junior Red Wizards and Probity Corps members for tailing them on the ground. The Red Wizards regard warlocks as dangerous. They are considered walking security risks because of the influence their patrons have on them. So warlocks are not welcome as allies, nor as residents of Thay. If visiting, they're expected to work no magic at all while within the realm. The weather in Thay. Parts of Thay are mountainous, and parts are still desert, but it's getting better due to wastes being used as mulch and Red Wizard weather control. It does snow in Thay, most often in the high areas, Thaymount and the slopes of the Sunset Mountains. Uncommonly on the plateau, that is High Thay, where hoarfrosts and brief sleet storms are more common than snow that falls and stays, except where the sun doesn't directly reach, and rarely elsewhere. In Thay, ground fogs at night due to day-to-night temperature differences are more common than real precipitation, and when it comes to snow or summer rain, real precipitation tends to be brief, sometimes heavy, but short-lived due to moving fast. This keeps humidity down, and Thayans are quite used to seeing the front, a wall or plume of falling rain, of a storm approaching or receding into the distance. The Red Wizards regularly and extensively cast spells to affect the weather for agricultural reasons. They favor steady downpours at night, soaking rains for crops that also hamper marauding monsters, brigands, and Thayan rebels or anyone else seeking to move around and do things without being seen by, yes, the Red Wizards, the Probity Corps, or government hire spies. Weather control is coordinated through the local Tharchions because they receive, via their courtiers, all the reports from the fields, farm fields that is, but commanded by the Zulkirs to prevent any Red Wizard freelancing for under-the-table going, because the moment you have freelancers, you get weather chaos. So, weather teams of Red Wizards are deployed, sent to specific spots to cast particular spells. Worship in Thay. The worship of Bane is akin to a state religion, circa 1500 DR in Thay. Among the Red Wizards, nobility, and social climbers, being publicly seen to be devout followers of Bane is socially necessary. That's why in the recent Thay sourcebook I co-wrote with Alex Kammer and Alan Patrick, our tour guide, who is a successful and far-traveled merchant, speaks of temples of Bane as the local temple to be seen in. In south and southwestern Thay, Byzantor in particular, but notably also Nethjet and Nathantir, local temples to other gods may be larger, wealthier, and openly more popular than the local holy houses of Bane. Everyone believes in all of the gods and privately murmurs prayers to any of them who would seem most personally useful, when in their own homes before going to bed and just after arising in the morning. Szass Tam's confidence and worldview were rocked by the Second Sundering, and he walked the paths of the doomed alone, pondering if he was going about things in the right way. Having suffered so many reverses, such as the Dread Ring affair, and discovering he could not even exterminate his Red Wizard rivals outside Thay, with his policies of replacing slaves and soldiers with undead, and Zulkirs with undead he controlled, and at some point during his wanderings, he received visions that told him to let all the temples breathe and be open, for when the tyrant grip is too tight, all that can be seen is the way of Bane, and one may miss other thought, other plans, and other troubles brewing. So, he now allows worship of all deities, and has forbade Red Wizards or his governors or soldiery to interfere with such veneration or other than Bane temple activities such as fundraising. However, this isn't utter freedom. It only seems to be utter freedom for now. Szass Tam is always on the watch for any threats to his rule or the supremacy of Thay.
I've got to say, Ed, that it is a great honor, and there's nothing I enjoy more than being at the ground level helping you craft this Realms lore for the Realms fans.
And there's nothing I enjoy more than making Realms videos where I share the secrets of the Realms. Secrets.
If you've been enjoying these videos and you also want to consider helping support them, please head on over to patreon.com/EdGreenwood, where you can become a protector of the realms. Not only does that directly support Ed, it also facilitates our ability to bring you the best possible content on this channel. Or hey, maybe you want to support Ed another way. You can do so by checking out the Ed Greenwood official shop, where you can get all sorts of super cool Ed Greenwood official merch. But for now, thank you so much for your generosity and your support, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of this video.
Thank you. So, if Szass Tam's a tyrant, who and what is the High Autharch? The High Autharch settles disputes over policy, how government officials should act when interpreting Tam's decrees or court rulings, and settles disputes among government officials. The post is rarely held for more than half a dozen years, as incumbents burn out or are assassinated. What Szass Tam wants is a strong enforcer to keep the daily peace while he deals with larger, grander schemes for world domination. Clerics of Bane often serve as High Autharch. The supreme ruler of Thay is a failure. Who keeps trying? He's an overreacher whose plans, time and again, fail. To quell dissent, he replaced almost all of the Zulkirs with undead beholden to him, the ultimate yes men, and replaced the armies of Thay with undead armies. So, total obedience, but can't transcend the brains of their controller, Szass himself. And he's so bad at what he does that time and again, Thay fails in its attempt at conquest, and Szass has taken to redefining goals to cover his obvious failures. Szass Tam's desire to have spies and assassins everywhere across the realms is the main reason why Thay started trade enclaves to take over the world in a mercantile manner, then abandoned them because Szass Tam changed his mind. Just plain Thayans have learned to just not cross Szass Tam, keep their heads down, and enjoy the prosperity. Szass Tam's replacement of Zulkirs with yes undead beholden to him is the latest in a long line of blunders related to his micromanaging need for control. If his performance ever matches his grand ambitions, the rest of Toril stands on the brink of doom. Thus far, it has at best been mildly threatened. Moreover, Tam's fiercely focused concentration means he often misses activities and even social changes in Thay that he should notice because he's just not paying attention. Thayan merchants silently rejoice at his attention being elsewhere because it gives them room to operate. Thayan nobles enjoy that same attention elsewhere because it gives them space to live and breathe. Intruding adventurers like it because it gives them a slender chance at survival. As for Szass Tam's endless ambitions to expand and conquer, he's gnawing on Aglarond and will likely have a war with them, but Mulhorand and Unther are stirring, and the dragon princes in Murgam are intercepting ever more Thayan spies. If Tam goes in that direction, the dragons will make certain others join in through pacts and alliances and promises of treasure and fear-mongering that it's high time Thay was wiped out with the frightening armies of undead and their nasty slaving tendencies. Tam will have to finesse matters to avoid a multi-front war, and what with traditional foes around him, Rashomon, Aglarond, and Mulhorand, and red wizards scattered across Faerun, plus his own track record of lacking finesse, things could get big in terms of who's marching and fighting, and fast. Szass Tam doesn't need to be subtle, and his paranoia is high and growing. He even destroyed his few fellow Tam family members to avoid having potential competition, and so he could play the Thayans he was ruling off against each other by hinting, "You're my favorite successor. Ah, but no, you are," to them without the inconvenience of having everyone else in Thay think, "No, you'll just name your Tam family member yonder as your successor." So now, Szass Tam is the last surviving Tam. All others are dead and thoroughly destroyed, so no magical resurrections or reanimations are possible. Although, there is a possibility of a lost heir Szass Tam doesn't know about. Brentara, the Red Wizardess of Merbont. In 1352 DR, Brentara lay with Azun IV of Cormyr, then escaped. See Cormyr, a novel. Only in 1357 DR was Merbont officially added to Thay. See the Spellbound box set. One of the reasons Szass Tam replaced Zulkirs with undead bound to him was to get enforced loyalty and obedience, stamping out the habit of Zulkirs of freelancing, their own hidden schemes, thwarting Tam's efforts, and even rebellions. Brentara is the result of one such hidden scheme. A Zulkir creatively interpreted Tam's orders to bolster Thayan spies embedded in cities Thay had its eye on, with wizards loyal to Thay, to prepare for eventual peaceful takeovers by installing Thay-friendly local rulers. This Zulkir took to recruiting gifted younger residents of cities like Merbont and making them his apprentices. Beholden to him first, Thay second, and Tam a distant third. Brentara was one such, and a triumph for the Zulkir. He presented her as a success to Tam, who approved, hence her being styled Red Wizardess of Merbont, which was independent of Thay at the time. Tam saw through the Zulkir's deceptions, of course, and soon destroyed him. The plan was that Thay would covertly try for full takeover of Cormyr by installing Azun's son on the dragon's throne, under the full mental control of Brentara, who in turn would be under the full mental control of Szass Tam. Brentara herself fled after the death of the Zulkir, and several of the chosen of Mystra covertly aided her in magically hiding herself and her son from Szass Tam and from Vangardahast of Cormyr. She conceived a second son, thanks to Szass Tam enjoying her embraces too, so there are two hidden adult men out there in the realms under different names and guises, one a bastard heir to Cormyr, and the other Szass Tam's only blood heir. And with that little secret of the realms now out in the open, let's end this little talk on Thay. There's a lot more, so we'll do another one.